Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Irredeemable podcast, featuring Chris and Cody. My name's Cody,
I'm Chris.
and we're going to talk about today about the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to the police force and what all affects the police force in our modern day society, especially in the United States. But first, we're going to talk about the bad with Chris here. He has some stories about him and the the police being bad on his end, and then we're going to talk about the good things that happened to me while the good things happened to me from the police force. So, Chris, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, my personal experiences with the police. Well, let's see. There's been so many. Um, I guess I'll start with the time that I was with friends. I used to live in this small town, which I still do, but used to live in this small town. We were all walking down to the gas station. Cop stops us, asks for our IDs, what we're doing, all that. We tell them, walk into the gas station, show them our IDs, which that didn't bother me because, they're doing their jobs. Three guys walking down the sidewalk at night, They got nothing else to do and whatever. Well, then, before we get to the gas station, they pull up again. Ask to see our IDs again. Now, I'm getting annoyed by this point because it's like, okay, we just went through this like 20 minutes ago, but whatever. Well, then, we get our stuff, all that. They pull up while we're walking back from the gas station and ask us again what we're doing. Now look at them like, by this point I'm starting to get annoyed because it's like, okay, you keep stopping and asking us. It's like, okay, now we're walking back from the gas station. We have drinks now, see? And ask for our IDs again. Okay. Well, then we get home. We're in the yard. And they pull up. Well, actually, he drives by, stops, reverses, gets out of his car, and then is like, if I see y'all outside again, I'm arresting every single one of y'all. It's like, why? We're in our yard. We're not doing anything. We're not being loud. We're not interfering with anybody. Like, why? There was a time that I was, didn't have money for a hotel and was up all night. So I was sleeping in my car at a public park. Same town. And cops came up, knocked on my window, asked me what I was doing. I told them, I got tired. I was just parking there to sleep. Like, it's in the middle of the day, I'm not parked in anybody's way. Then they asked me to step out of the vehicle, started asking me all kinds of questions, like, are you on drugs? Do you have alcohol? All this. And, and then asked to search my vehicle, which I was like, no. And, we went back and forth there for a while. And then they, after our session of 20 questions, one of the cops looked at me and was like, better hope I don't see you down here again. I'm like, okay. Whatever. Well then, moved to the big city, land of opportunity and whatnot, which that saying is bullshit, by the way. And, loading up my car to go shooting. Come back down. Car's been broken into. AR-15 stolen. Okay. Call the cops. Some 3-4 hours later, they show up. Take down the police report. Try and take prints off the door handle, all that. Well, I also found a Wendy's visor, a background check with person's name on it. And so I'm like, okay. So I give that to the police, and they're like, oh, that's circumstantial evidence. Well, with a Google search, that name on the receipt belonged to somebody who was currently on bail for breaking into a car. I was like, well, this is pretty open and shut to me, but whatever. And of course, what did the cops say? Oh, yeah, we'll find your gun when it's used in a crime? Oh, so when they use it to shoot up somewhere or shoot somebody, then you'll find it. Okay. And by the way, yes, the woman did still work at a Wendy's. I actually found where she worked. And no, I didn't do anything. So then, fast forward, after we've been screwed over from our jobs and nobody wanting to work with us, our power gets shut off because didn't clear online before the time for them to shut it off, yada yada. Go up there, I offer to pay it again with the reconnect fee, nothing. And they're like, no, there's nothing that we can do until tomorrow. Now, this was a couple months back when it was really hot and there were heat advisories every day and all that. So naturally, I got mad. I slammed the counter. Now, there's glass between, me and like the teller there. So, it's not like they were in any danger. I didn't threaten anybody. I just shouted. They show up, cops show up to my house and tell me that I'm not allowed to go back in there. And the electric company is in City Hall, so I'm not allowed inside City Hall now. So, yeah, just, cops in general, I don't like them. The only time they do anything is if they can extort money out of you. And that is my view on the police.
Now, to counteract that point, to clear up some misconceptions on what Chris said, when he meant go out and shoot, we had a little home range we had. It was at least about a mile away from the nearest local area, like populated area. It was out by a river. There's nothing legal about shooting by a river when there's nobody around. It was responsible. That's what we did.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's why I was loading up the car. I wasn't just gonna do it in the middle of the city, no.
We don't
never do that.
We don't roll by like Memphis does.
No.
Anyways, my thing with cops was, well, I'm a former correctional officer. I've always had, if something happens, call the cops. That's always been my thing. Always trusting the cops. Cops will do everything 100% by the book. Blah blah blah. That's the way I was raised. Because my grandfather was also a policeman. Excuse me. And I have nothing but positive things with the cops. I've always been, really, willing and complying. Like about a couple years ago, back in 2020, very beginning of 2020, before all this bad stuff happened with COVID and all that, I was in a wreck. And I wasn't working at the time. Like, I literally got a job that day. And I got into a wreck without insurance because I couldn't pay it because I've been out of work so long. Well, it was raining the night before, and I hydroplaned into this woman's vehicle, who was sitting in the middle of the road, no turn signals, with parking lights on. She was parked in the middle of the road. And I thought, she was going to be turning. Well, like I said, she was stopped in the middle of the road. So I try and stop. I hydroplane into her vehicle. Her vehicle has like some minor, scratches and stuff, but nothing that won't buff out. If you catch my drift. A couple of sensors might have been messed up. That's pretty much it. Meanwhile, I total my vehicle that I bought with my own money, and I love that vehicle. I'll never have another vehicle just like that ever in my life. But I lost my license because of it. Well, I was driving without insurance, got into a wreck. Of course, I'm going to lose my license. That's all well and fine. But I had to continue to drive because my wife at the time was afraid of driving. She had a license, but she was afraid of driving. And I had to go drive to get groceries. I had to drive her back and forth to work. My uncle thankfully helped me get another vehicle, so I was driving back and forth to work, and he, well, I got pulled over one night because I was driving home from work, and uh, one of my lights were out. And I was like, okay, well, thank you, officer, for letting me know that my lights were out. He said, okay, that's fine. Do you mind if I see your license and registration and proof of insurance? I'm like, sir, I'm going to be honest with you. Uh, I don't. My license got revoked a couple months ago. This was at that time, back then, 2020. I lost my license. You know, I'm trying to get insurance on this vehicle. I haven't got it yet. I just started working. You know, I had to pay, my uncle back for the vehicle. Had to pay my bills. I didn't really have money for insurance at the time. He goes on a tirade on me, talking about, people like me are the reason why insurance premiums are so up. I could have gone into a wreck again and went to jail. Blah blah blah. Like it was more like a dad scolding than anything, right? So he lets me go. He said, if I see you again without insurance, I'm hauling you in. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I get insurance on the vehicle a little bit after that, and I go and I uh, I was wrestling at the time under a mask at our local wrestling promotion, and I was driving a friend back from Ripley, Tennessee, and one of the license plate lights, because you have to have license plate lights. I didn't know this. One of them was out, and I got pulled over for it. He said, "Okay, well, at least you have insurance, but here is I don't want to do paperwork. It's near the end of my shift. Do you? There's anybody in the car have a license?" I handed him my wife's license at the time. My wife at the time's license. Sorry, let me go ahead and say that. And he let me go without a ticket. And every time I've dealt with the police, I've talked with them calmly. They've always worked with me. I have no bad experiences with police. But that doesn't mean that there always are good people. What we're going to get into now is the bad part of the police force and going nationally and going locally. When it comes to local police officers, most of them are, like, okay, I got to fill my quota. I got to, make sure nobody gets killed. Blah blah blah.
Well, and I mean the corruption runs deep too. I mean, take the Holly Bobo thing for example.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that in another episode. Right. But pretty much, there are people like that, that will actually work with you and talk with you and like, hey, there are other people that would have arrested you today, but I don't feel like it, so I'm gonna give you a pass. There are people like that, but what is broadcasted on media now is the corruption and the people, going the extra mile, or the people that are using excessive force. Like in Chris's, like going the extra mile, especially Chris's sake, going back and forth to the store. That's excessive. And another thing, Chris forgot to mention that he tried to go to the police department for that that police report. Make sure because they said he was allowed to go to the ticket window, but he wasn't. Not the ticket window, but the
drive-through.
The drive-through window, but he wasn't allowed inside. He just wanted to get that in case they get a hair up their ass and want to what was it? Prosecute him for being up there. And that the police station here in this town is inside City Hall, so he couldn't go in the police station because it was inside City Hall, and he's not allowed up into City Hall, which is really messed up. But he there are corrupt people, and there's always going to be that cop that goes the extra mile who wants to throw the book at everybody. And it's a scourge, but it starts at the training level, in my opinion, because look at Switzerland. It takes 2 years to become a cop in Switzerland. Meanwhile, it takes 6 weeks for speed classes here in our local area. And not only is it for the corruption starts there for not being really trained, but you also have people who are buddy buddy with everybody in every single area of law enforcement. Like there's cops that are friends with the judges here that will take their side over yours.
Yeah. So, like, even if you, like, say you get pulled over and get a ticket and go to court, even if you say that you're not guilty and there's no evidence proving that you were speeding, no evidence. The cop says, "Well, I saw him," and then the judge will side with the cop.
And that's where small time corruption is. But if you think about what's going on in the whole United States, you see stuff about unarmed black man shot, blah blah blah, knelt on, like with the Trayvon Martin case, the George Floyd case, the I don't know how many cases we had where unarmed black man or armed black man was shot unnecessarily. That's what was reported.
Well, and that's the other issue is that media is actually starting to fuel this whole thing and a racial divide because if a white guy, if an unarmed white man gets shot by police, media won't touch it.
It won't. Meanwhile, unarmed black man.
It's like that's going to be on every news agency all across the U.S.
And I hate to, and one of the biggest, and like I'm not Democrat or conservative leaning anyway, but one of the biggest things that I liked about, I think it was Snoop Dogg. He said, what was it, Snoop Dogg? It was Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman, they asked, how do we end racism in today's society? He said, stop talking about it. Stop making everything about race.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what we need to do, is stop making everything about race. Because, for example, when the George Floyd situation. Now, the George Floyd situation, there was wrong on both sides there. George Floyd was using a counterfeited $20 bill. And the police went a little bit too far in subduing George Floyd. And they could have done a lot of things a lot differently. And it was just an awful situation all around. Like, for example, now this doesn't really mean anything because I'm very logical minded. I think about things logically, and so does Chris. But if I say if Chris was reported of having a counterfeited $20 bill, and I was a police officer, I would go up to Chris like, "Sir, there was a report they were using a counterfeit $20 bill. Is it okay if I look at it?" And the perfect situation there would be, okay, well, this is a counterfeit 20. We have to take this in and destroy it because it is a illegal tender. It's not. You're not allowed to use this. We have to confiscate this. Now, Chris, if I was if I said, "Hey, Chris, let me see that. Is it okay if I look at that counterfeit $20 bill to make sure if it's counterfeit?" What would you say?
Yeah, sure.
And then he would hand me the bill. I would look at it. Hey, it's counterfeit. We have to confiscate this. That means we have to destroy it because it is an illegal tender. What would you say?
Okay, well, I guess I'll talk to whoever I got it from.
Would that being your employer or the bank? Because sometimes 20s get illegal tender gets
slips through the cracks.
Slips through the cracks because not all the whole teller. Not the teller is not going to be like, okay, well that's a real 20, that's a real 20, that's a real 20, that's a fake 20. Not all of them are going to be like that, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, with this newer generation, and we're part of this new generation, but with this new generation, this is what would happen. Hey, sir, I have a report that you're using a fake 20, and
I ain't giving you shit.
Exactly. And that would escalate things. And now somebody who was properly trained would stop that escalation. Like, sir, I just want to look at it. Now, if it's legal, I will give it back to you. We will leave you alone. Now, that's the best way to deal with that.
Yeah.
However, if somebody who was, let's just say, they were bullied growing up, and the cops never did anything about it, so that kid grew up to be a police officer who wanted to change things. He thinks that the person that he's stopping, and the person who the crime committed the crime, it's like, oh well, I don't have to listen to you, blah 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 blah. He would take that as, oh, they're just another one of those bullies, and their mindset would flip to be like, I have power now. I don't have to listen to you. Give me that 20.
Yeah.
And that would escalate it to the point where what happened was George Floyd was wrestled to the ground, and they knelt on his neck, suffocating him. The EMTs arrived saying, hey, you're going to kill him if you keep kneeling on his neck like that. And the cop waved it off as like, oh, well, I don't have to fucking listen to you. I don't fucking care.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously on a power trip there.
Yeah, and that's what we need to stop. We need to stop and really train these officers of the law, because if they do something like that, it shouldn't take them 2 or 3 years in order to get justice for that. It shouldn't. What should happen is, if they make a mistake like that, they need to be held at the same accountability as a regular citizen, because they are also a citizen. That's where the term cop comes from, because cop stands for citizen on patrol, because they are a United States citizen in a law enforcement position. Yeah. That's all they are. They are just as a citizen as you and me, and they need to be held accountable to the same amount of stuff that is happening to you. Like, Chris, you were saying something to me earlier today about, if a cop shoots somebody, he gets sent home with pay, and 9 times out of 10 it's like, oh, this officer was acting justly. Meanwhile, if there's an intruder in my house and I shoot him, I'm going to jail until my court date, and if I don't have money for bail, then I'm SOL. I have to spend like 2-3 weeks or a couple months in jail before my court date. And then, as you said, Chris, that's
yeah, and then you can't make money. You get fired from your job. Car gets repoed. You can lose your house or apartment or whatever, and then all that goes on your credit. So even if the court date comes and it's like, oh yeah, you're not guilty, sorry, you can go now. Your credit is absolutely fucked. Like, I mean, you can't get another car. You can't get another place to live. It'd be impossible to get a job then. Because even if it's not guilty,
keep on.
It actually, my mind blanked.
It ruins you.
Yeah, it ruins you whether you're guilty or not, and that's what I have a problem with. Is the
if a cop shoots somebody,
they just get paid time off. Get to sit at home. They can still pay their bills, whatever. And it's like a person like me is supposed to show more restraint when my life is possibly in danger than a cop is, where their life might not even be in danger. They just shoot somebody unarmed because they think something, in the street, if I shot somebody unarmed that was walking down the street, they'd throw the book at me. As somebody I know once said, if I shot somebody on Fifth Avenue, I would not get away with it. Okay?
Exactly.
Just put it in 4 parts. And so, yeah, that's my whole thing. About that is, that should be more level. Because other than morality, what keeps people from shooting at each other? Like I said, other than morality, it's the threat of jail time. If cops don't have that, and they know that, internal affairs will take care of it if they go and shoot somebody, what's to keep them from doing it?
Exactly. Now that we talked about the police side of things and how they should be doing better, like how they should be held to the same standard as a normal American citizen, we're going to talk about the things that stemmed from the George Floyd and Trayvon Martin things, the marches, the riots, the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I will agree. Because of the George Floyd shootings and all that stuff, there should be police reform.
Yes.
But there's a certain way you have to go about it.
Yeah.
Like doing stuff like this. This is a way to get your message out there, and get people to think. Get people thinking. It's like, hey, maybe we should do this.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If they would have just stood out there with picket signs or whatever outside the police department, like, hey, we want justice. Okay, there is no problem with that. I would fully understand that. But the issue is, it's riots. They're burning down their cities, and black-owned businesses in the sake of, Black Lives Matter. Okay. But also my thing is, if the leaders of Black Lives Matter actually cared about black lives, they wouldn't have, the leader of it wouldn't have 5 different mansions scattered across the U.S. from the money that they've made off of the movement. They would be using that for, youth programs in low-income neighborhoods.
Go on.
Or going and helping low-income families, where, helping people, get jobs or get an education or, stuff to actually better that community, than just saying, oh yeah, white man bad, cops bad, and then making millions of dollars. I can't take a movement seriously when it does that. Don't get me wrong. The message behind it, that it's police reform, I can get behind that. Because, as I've said, I've had a lot of negative encounters with the police too, and I'm a white guy. So I get it. But, as I said, I think that if the leader of the Black Lives Movement actually cared about that, they would be using their money for things to better the black community.
Exactly.
Not this, I'm going to make millions of dollars off of it and then just sit back and relax in my house while everyone that's out there protesting is getting arrested. And guess what else? Those people and that message that it sent, them going out and rioting and all that, you know what message that sent to the world? That they're animals. That's the only message that it sent out. Because, let's face it, just like January the 6th, what message did that send?
That everybody that was upset about the riot, the election and the way it went, that we were violent, that we shouldn't be trusted, that we are enemies of the state.
Exactly. And that's my point in all this, is that all you did was make your situation worse.
And not, most of the, like, if you honestly, if it was up to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to get violent, I wanted to get physical, I would have took it out on Best Buy. I would have took it out on black owned businesses in that town, looting and rioting and killing. You know what I would have done?
Huh.
I would have marched my ass down to the police department where those people were from, and I would fucking if I wanted to get violent, we would push inside that police department, and we would take it over.
Yeah.
And got justice right then and there. If I wanted to get violent, that's what I would have done. I would have not. I would have not rioted and looted.
Yeah.
Those stores.
Or even, storming the courthouse. That was acceptable in that time because it was like, okay, the legal system is fucked up in this too.
And it's like, okay, if you don't want to get justice on it, we'll make you get justice on it.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, but like you said, going and stealing all the electronics from Best Buy, how does that help bring George Floyd to justice?
No, that just puts his name synonymous with thieving, looting, and killing.
Exactly. It's just sending a message that, oh, this is just an excuse so I can go and rob stores and get shit for free.
Exactly. And then, who knows, those black-owned businesses and all that stuff, where they rioted and they looted, they could have closed that business down for good because they didn't have any insurance for that stuff.
Yeah. And then, will the leaders of Black Lives Matter help them rebuild their business?
No, they profited off all that stuff.
Exactly. Which is exactly my point. They're not helping black-owned businesses either.
And they try and put in police reform and all that stuff into the government, but they sneak in small things like, oh, we want police reform, but we also want this.
Yeah.
And that's how it didn't get passed by the government, because there's so much greed in the United States of America nowadays, where as long as I ain't making money, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the mindset is to the modern American.
Yeah. Honestly, slight off ramp here, but I think super PACs should be outlawed.
Exactly.
People in positions of power, senators, congressmen, presidents, whoever, shouldn't be able to accept money from any third party. Like, they shouldn't.
No.
And, or at least corporations. If I was running for, city council here,
mm-hmm.
and say, some business wants to support me, yeah, that's fine and dandy and all, but
they should have no ulterior motive.
That sends the wrong message. Because if something comes across and it's like, oh, it doesn't benefit this business that helped me, so I'm not going to do it.
It's
quid pro quo.
It's a legal quid pro quo.
Yes.
That's all the super PACs and funding from businesses and all that stuff is. That's all that is.
Actually, if you actually go and look at super PACs, because it's public record, by the way. You can look up a senator or congressman and look at their super PACs. You can do that for any of them. And I guarantee you, 99% of Republicans have oil super PACs and pharmaceutical super PACs, and 99% of Democrats have green energy. And that's the thing. They just do the quid pro quo now for those companies that are funding them. It's not even about helping the American people anymore.
Because if they wanted to help the American people, they would stop inflation right then and there.
Yeah.
They would make everything affordable again. They would make it outlawed where places like Nashville, if you want to live in Nashville, it doesn't cost you fucking $2,000 to get an apartment.
Yeah.
Well, it's very desirable, so cost and demand is up, that doesn't make a fucking lick of difference. If I want to go there and I want to make, if I have $2,000 to move into an apartment right now, I'm using that money to better myself in my low income community. Meanwhile, if I want to go and spend $2,000 on just an apartment, that means I'm doing well for myself here. Why would I want to go and risk it in a fucking big city?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. You know, and that's the entire thing. It's like
They need to worry about affordable housing and housing for the people that are out on the streets, especially the people that went and risked their lives for this country.
exactly.
And like they should stop doing. Here's an order. Like if I was doing housing program, you know, I would do veterans that need homes that serve our community, serve our country.
100%.
I would do that, and then I would worry about the women who don't want to fucking work, want to accept child support, and want to fucking the white fucking sit on their ass the rest of their fucking life in Section 8. That's what I would do. That's just me.
Well, no, the women that sit there and draw child support all the time and everything don't live in Section 8 because the way our system is designed, they suck the man dry where the man has to live in Section 8 and they're living in a nice house.
Exactly. And we'll get into, you know, the justice system when it comes to men versus women later on too. But it's so fucking ridiculous to me that, you know, we can sit here and we can talk about all this stuff, and you know, I'm going to tell you what will happen to this series. It will get canceled off of YouTube, and because we are speaking the truth, it will get canceled off of YouTube. We will not have a way of putting out this podcast so everybody out there can know what is really going on with America, and you know, nobody wants. It's the same principle. Nobody wants to hear about their own dirty laundry.
Yeah.
What they need to do. And it's...
And that's another thing, too, is that what people don't realize is the government keeps us divided on issues so we don't see what's wrong with the government.
Exactly.
Like, they pit Americans versus Democrats. And then, you know, the racial thing that came up. It's to keep everyone divided... where then they don't see, hey, the government's really fucked up. It's been overstepping its bounds since like the Reagan administration. So
yeah, like we said in the last episode, you know, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want with your own body, as long as it doesn't interfere with somebody's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That was in the was it the preamble or the Bill of Rights or something like that?
Declaration of Independence.
It was in the Declaration of Independence that.
That is what our forefathers actually said, not this argument that I hear all the time. That is, well, we're a Christian country. It's founded on Christianity. No, that's not entirely true.
We were founded on religious freedom. If you want to worship a flying spaghetti monster, you go ahead and do it. If you want to worship some guy in the Middle East who says he was a prophet, go ahead, do it. If you want to worship fucking Lady Dimitrescu from fucking Resident Evil, go ahead, you do it. If you want to say that Goku is your Lord and Savior, go ahead and do it. That was what our country was founded on.
Yeah.
Not, it goes against the Christian God. We're not doing it.
Yeah. And that's the current issue, too, is that because once religion starts getting introduced into politics, things get messy. Because, you know, like now, a lot of conservatives and right-wingers are Christian. That's just statistics.
Yeah, they are.
And a lot of them are pushing laws that go with the Bible. Because they say that they are, quote, biblical laws. Now, the issue with that is, where is the point where it's like, okay, it's now illegal to get a divorce because it's against the Bible. You know, and then whenever it does that, And then guess what? We're the exact same thing that our ancestors were running away from when they founded this country.
Exactly. And here's the biggest thing too. You know, they they left everything open to interpretation. Just and that's what they wanted to do. What you thought America should be. That's what the Constitution was.
Yes.
What it should be in your own eyes. You had the freedom to do whatever you want to do.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we want that they wanted back then. For example, they do not say one nation under Christian God. No, they said one nation under God. They left the interpretation on what God wanted, what you wanted God to be.
Well, you know, it didn't always say one nation under God. That was introduced in the late 1800s, early 1900s, somewhere around there. When Christians really started getting a big footing in the U.S., that's when it was introduced. It wasn't on money. It wasn't in the Pledge of Allegiance. No, it didn't have any of that at the founding because they didn't want to associate religion and politics. They actually wanted to keep them separate.
And now people say, well, according to my religion, I'm allowed to do this, or according to my religion, this should be illegal. It shouldn't fucking matter.
Yeah, if according to your religion it should be illegal, then don't do that thing. If you see other people in your religion doing that, then go ahead. Say something to them. You know, because I studied the Bible a lot, and I grew up in church. And the Bible actually says that, you know, you're not supposed to judge others, but you help other people that are on their walk. So, if somebody is on the same walk of faith as you, it's okay to go, hey, you know, I see you're struggling with this, or I don't think you're supposed to be doing this. Not somebody that is just off, you know, doing their own thing, has a different religion, whatever, and then saying, oh, well, you're going to hell, or showing hate towards them.
Like, and well, we sit there and we judge. We sit there and we judge. And if you want this to be a Christian nation, and you want to go by Christianity, Jesus said himself, especially in the oldest translations of the Bible, Jesus said, let he without sin cast the first stone. Meaning, if you don't sin, which is nobody, because everybody's born with inherent sin according to Christianity, then you cannot throw the first stone. You can't judge somebody for what they want to do. If I want to go and color my hair, wear thongs in public, and fucking act like a little pretty princess, then I get to do whatever the fuck I want to do.
Yeah, I think you walking around with a thong would interfere with a lot of people's pursuit of happiness, though.
But, you know, that's the thing. And that's what I talked about, we talked about in the last episode with women dressing the way they want to. It's like, yeah, you have all the
right to do that.
The right to do that. But also expect that if this happens, then you're running yourself at risk of doing these things, being judged by your own peers. That's what a jury is supposed to be, a jury of your own peers.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And that's the thing, too. We're not saying that people who do that, you know, deserve to have, you know, harm done to them or anything. We're not saying that at all.
No.
It's just, you know, if you wear a skimpy outfit and get catcalled, don't be surprised. I mean, that's gonna happen.
It is.
I mean, if I'm walking around town with, like, you know, really short shorts, people are gonna laugh because, you know, that part of me never gets sun. You know, it's white. It's like blinding. So, you know, people are gonna laugh at me for it. Like, that's just something that I know.
Everything you do shouldn't. People shouldn't judge you, but there are going to be people who are judgmental, and that's just the society we live in, and that's a society that our nation was not founded upon. Like, there was a study not too long ago about, whenever we came to this land for religious freedom. We used most of the people who came to America first were pagans.
Really?
They were pagans. They believed in the natural gods. They wanted religious freedom, and they said, if you want religious freedom, you have to go set your own rules in this other land. We won't. You get to do whatever you want to as long as it's away from us, but you still have to pay taxes. And that's not what we're taught in schools.
No.
We're not taught in schools that we were taught that we came over here because we wanted our own way to follow God. That's not why we came over here. We came over here for religious freedom, economical freedom, the freedom to do whatever we wanted to, because that's what being a human is. Like, I don't want to wake up in the morning like, oh well, I have to go slave away at a job that barely pays rent. I don't want to do that. But that's what a society has
Devolved
into. Like, I have to go and slave away at this company. Meanwhile, some people in this world are like, I want to wake up and go, I want French toast and from France. So they fly to France that day and get French toast.
Yeah.
It's some stupid stuff like that. It's like we forget what we used to be, and that's what messes with everything that we think of now. What we misinterpret. Like, I hate to bring this up. Let's talk about the Second Amendment here. The Second Amendment protects our right to keep and bear arms and have a well-regulated militia, and and everybody has the right to overthrow.
Well, no, that's not part of the Second Amendment. That is actually in the. I think it's in the Constitution.
Yeah.
Somewhere. But anyway, it does say in the Constitution and Declaration of Independence that if the government becomes too large, it is the duty of the American citizens to overthrow it. It does say that. Now, I'm not saying that. This is not a call to arms. Okay, this is not.
Please do not do anything fucking stupid.
Yeah. It's like just simply stating, what the foundation of our country stands on.
Really. Literally.
Yeah. Like, this is what our country is supposed to be.
According to a snippet from the United States Bill of Rights, a well-regulated militia. I can't read a lot of that stuff because it's been faded.
Being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people
to keep and bear arms. Meaning,
yeah.
as long as you're doing your own thing, and nobody has the right to come and stop you from doing it.
Exactly.
And that's the way we should run this country. In my complete honesty, like I said in the last episode, if it doesn't interfere with somebody else's life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness, you should be able to do whatever you want.
Yeah. Weren't we supposed to talk about the media or something?
Oh yeah. And the media is so demonizing on free thinking.
It is.
It's like, everybody who thinks freely is a terrorist or is a cult leader.
Yeah.
And all that. And it's like, that's not how this country was founded either. It's like the widespread media and what you say can be misinterpreted to everything.
Yeah. Like, Like, that's why I always make the joke that if I watch something on CNN, I'll watch about the same thing on Fox News and know that the truth is somewhere there in the middle. Like, you'll never find a non-biased source of information in this country. You won't. I mean, there are various levels of bias, yes.
But you'll never find a true and complete 100% unbiased news source in America.
Yeah, because it's all propagandized now. It is.
It's and here lately it's been about race and freedom of religion and what you wanted to do.
Well, and because like I said earlier, if you keep people on this topic where they don't move off, because again, free thinking is what our government doesn't want. They don't want people to think freely. That's why, as a kid, what happens when you try to question why things are a certain way, like in school? What happens?
You usually get the answer because it's just like that. Or you're not meant to ask questions about that.
Yeah. Or you're punished for it. It's ingrained since we were children to not be critical thinkers.
And that's why they deem critical thinkers
a danger to society.
A danger to society.
Because it's a danger to their society.
Yes, and society nowadays, it's gone to shit.
It has.
Like we know we're probably going to get canceled doing this, and we just don't care. We just want to keep putting out our truth because that's what society is about nowadays. But if it doesn't coincide with their truth, they don't care about it.
Yeah. But see, and that's the thing. Like, like he said, thinking last episode, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. So, which is another issue with people. They see things on the internet and think, oh, I'm being attacked because they don't agree with me. If you don't agree with our position on things, cool. You have a right to do that. That's the entire point.
So if you go into the comment section and talk about, oh, that you're just a fascist, you're not a free thinker, blah blah blah. You don't go with the crowd. You are the point that you are just enforcing the point that we're trying to say here. Like, go ahead, give me hate in the comments. I don't care. That's your opinion. This is ours, and that's how it should be.
Yes, because I mean, see, and like everyone has their opinion. I mean, people can sit there and say, "Oh, well, I think your opinion's trash." Okay, that's your opinion. We're all entitled to our opinions, which is the entire point that we're trying to make here in this podcast is that, is that society as a whole, if you're not with, this certain group, that, there's feminism and racism and transphobia and all this, like, if you're not running with that, then, you're labeled those things. It's like, because used to, misogynistic was when, you thought that, a woman was just for cleaning and cooking and
raising
dishes.
the kids and having sex with. That's the only thing a woman was made for. That's not what it is.
That is what misogyny used to be. Now it is, oh, I'm a woman and you disagree with me, so it's misogynistic. Just like homophobia. People think homophobia now is, oh, well, you don't like me? Well, I'm gay, so you're homophobic. It even if it has nothing to do with them being gay. They just automatically go for that. Because everybody wants to be oppressed by something nowadays.
And this new thing that's been popping up is fat phobia. There's studies saying that, being fat is good for your health and having fat is good for your health. Yes, having fat is good for your health.
In moderation.
In moderation. You can't be fucking 3 tons of wannabe fun and fucking think, oh, I'm healthy. Meanwhile, you'll die of cardiac arrest at the age of 50.
Yeah. And I mean, this is coming from us. We both fat. We both know this.
I weigh 347 pounds.
But the you know what really grinds my but you know, people that talk about, you know, physical, what is it? The accepting how you look.
Oh, yeah, fat acceptance.
Well, no, it's the other one.
Oh, body positivity.
Yeah, body positivity. Now, body positivity is good and all, but it's being overused by all these overweight people that it's like, okay, look, body positivity should be more about, you know, people that, you know, have to have like a breast removed because they had breast cancer,
Or it should
they
be
lost
like
a limb because of an accident, or
they were in a fire and had to have a skin graft, and makes it look like there's holes in their face. Yeah, that's body positivity. That's
Yes.
body positivity, not, oh, I weigh 600 pounds, and, you know, I think, you know, I'm the sexiest damn thing on the planet. Now, you can think that.
See, and that's the difference, too, is because if it's something that you can't help, because I know that there are things like, you know, insulin resistance, for example, where people can't lose weight. They can't. You know, thyroid issues can do that, you know, because I know people with those. And they cannot lose the weight. Like, I mean, it is physically impossible for them to. And that's the difference, too. Body positivity also applies to those people because they can't.
If you are physically able to lose weight.
If you are able and just too lazy to, that shouldn't be in the body positivity category. And again, I'm a fat guy. This is coming from me.
And people keep talking about appropriation, cultural appropriation. That's appropriation. Taking body positivity and making it your own thing, that is appropriation.
Yeah, and see, body positivity used to be a good thing, and then these people ruined it because they're like, oh, I'm too lazy to work out, or whatever, you know, or I just don't want to, or, you know, dieting is too hard. Now, I know. I've tried dieting. I've tried exercising.
It sucks.
I know. It's horrible. I know. Now, but I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, body positivity because I don't want to. No. It's like, it's still my own fault that I'm overweight. It's still my fault.
For people who don't have medical conditions that keep them like that.
Exactly.
This does not apply to you. Now, if you are sitting there on YouTube and TikTok all day, talking about and watching all these people and gaining weight, and like, oh, well, this person weighs way more than I do. I feel better about myself. That should be body positivity. No, it's not.
No. It's like, again, if you are able to change it, body positivity does not apply to you, you know? And it's also like, you know, like people that were born with, you know, smaller genitals, let's say, right? It's like, that applies to them too. Body positivity. You know, women with small breasts, you know, same thing. It's like, it's about things that you can't change. Like, you know, you were born with this condition, or had it happen to you due to, you know, some kind of trauma. You know, and I'm not saying a trauma that, like my ex used to use, and that was her excuse for everything. And now, I have no problem with trauma. I understand trauma is real. But if you use it as an excuse to treat other people like garbage, you know, you're part of the problem.
Meanwhile, for example, December of the year before last, right? Or December of last year.
No, year before last.
Year before last, I was in a wreck, and it traumatized me so bad that I hate driving now. I hate driving, but I don't sit there and fucking, you know, I don't sit there and be like, well, if I was driving, this would happen. You know, that's not that. I don't do that. That's not me. That's not the way it's supposed to. If you have somebody driving you around because you are physically too traumatized to do something, or you have somebody's helping you with that, don't treat them like shit.
Yeah. And don't sit there, because my ex, who was a feminist, might I add, she she was absolutely horrible, where she would be like, oh, men are trash and all this, and It was terrible. Like, I mean, she would be talking about something, and then, like Cody here, he knows a lot about history and tanks and stuff. He loves that stuff. He loves talking about it. He'd go and try to talk to her about it, and she'd be like, oh, you're just mansplaining to me. Like, no, he's talking about something that he likes. What is wrong with you?
And another thing, okay, I did something happened to me. Now that you mention her, something happened to me that I didn't go to the police because I don't know if they would believe me. One day, my one day after my ex-wife divorced me, I was really sad, really sad. And I started drinking. Me and Chris started drinking. Now they had an agreement that, you know, Chris was allowed to be with other guys.
Like, I was allowed to do stuff as long as I didn't fall in love. Like a one-time fling type of thing. But she was bi also, so she could do the same thing with girls. So, it wasn't a one-sided thing.
Exactly. And I had explained, like, she asked us what she could do whenever we were drunk. Because we all talk about consent. Because that's what...
Yeah. Because we all talk about consent before we drink. Because, while you're sober is the time to get everything out of the way.
Exactly. And that's another thing. But we got that out of the way, we started drinking. And then she started asking me about what I like. What I like sexually. What I like, what turns me on. And she went and the exact thing that I liked. She did. And then she convinced us to have a three-way.
Yeah, because now keep in mind she was sober this entire time.
She was not drinking.
And it's the chick that I was with. Right?
And when she was young, she says that she was raped by her stepfather. Now, somebody who was raped 9 times out of 10, there are some outliers. There are some people who get addicted to sex after rape.
Yeah. Well, she claimed because it was the way he showed her love, that's the only way that she can receive love. Which might be true. I'm not going to say that she was lying about that. But some things she would do, like how she would go into a panic attack, right? And at first, it was always while we were having an argument or something. I wasn't even yelling or anything, and expecting me to run to her side and comfort her and everything. But whenever I stopped doing that, and then it was like, oh, I'm the bad guy because, I'm trying to get my point across and not being there for her in her time of need. She was just milking it.
But she, in all senses, raped me and Chris because we told her we didn't want to do anything with her.
We did not consent. And she was big on consent. She was one of those that were like...
Sexual positivity. That's what she was all about.
Well, she claimed it was sexual positivity, but really, it was, she wanted the D of everybody around.
And we're going to talk about more about feminism and how women use feminism to get ahead in society in the next episode. But it's not... That's not the point here. The point here is... I was raped. He was raped by somebody who claimed they hated rape.
Yeah. And she was a feminist, which honestly turned me off to feminism because I see a lot of stuff like that where it's two-sided. They just use that to, fulfill their agenda, and then it's like, it doesn't matter. But anyway, what were we talking about before this?
I don't know, but we are out of time.
Okay.
But thank you all for tuning in.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate that. But we're going to go ahead and stop here. Next couple of days, we'll release a new episode. Maybe we'll read some of your comments at the very beginning. Ones that really catch our eye and speak to us. We'll explain our situation and our feelings towards that. And I guess we will see y'all in the next one.
See you in the next one.